You know what I've come to realize is that Americans as a whole are unwilling to sacrifice their personal comfort for anybody else. When I was in Germany and I saw these bronze stepping stones on the ground, they were in front of every house, every business, every store, every government building where the Jews were kidnapped by Hitler and murdered. And what really caught my attention is I stood there and I looked above at the apartments and the ones over here and the ones over here and the ones across the street. Every single time a person was grabbed out of a house, every single one of those neighbors stood there and watched it happen. And they said exactly what my former friend said. Last year, there was a story about a woman that lost her pregnancy, and it was horrible. And the woman almost lost her life from the conditions inside the concentration camps in this country. And I said, we have got to go on a general strike and stop this. And she goes, if you think I'm going to go on a general strike and jeopardize the well-being of my family for a stranger, you're sadly mistaken. And that's what every single neighbor said every time somebody that was Jewish was kidnapped and murdered by Hitler. There was a story about a farmer during Nazi Germany when I'm trying to figure out why didn't people say anything. And she says, it was horrible what was happening. I knew it was happening. My neighbors, my friends. And she says, well, I just did what was best for me and my family. So I just kept selling eggs and milk and I was able to make enough money to make ends meet. And that really defines Americans. And my former friend that said that. I don't give a damn unless it affects me. I'm not going on a general strike because I need money. I'm not going to sacrifice comfort for somebody else. 34 people have died in concentration camps. The president has blown up a school and murdered 170 children at a girls' school in Iran. We funded Israel that's murdered 80,000 people in Gaza. We're spending $1 billion a day. $1 billion a day on a war because the president wants to distract that he's defending child molesters. We're giving $1.8 billion to people that attacked police officers on January 6th. And we're just going to sit by and watch it happen while off-duty police officers that aren't white are being pulled over by ICE and forced to prove that they're a U.S. citizen. Just think about that. Black people back in the civil rights movement would go on strike and protest for a year and a half at a time. They just wanted to be treated the same as a white person. While people are in concentration camps right now, while the sitting president is defending child molesters and bombing schools, all you can say is, I'm not willing to sacrifice and stop it because I have to do what's best for me. That's why we're still here. That's why this is being allowed to happen, just like it happened during Nazi Germany. It's the same thing that white people have done for hundreds of years to black people. It didn't affect me. I don't want to say anything. Yeah, that's a real shame that my neighbor is hanging from a tree, but hey, it ain't my problem. I have bills to pay. I have to get to work. This country loves money more than their fellow American, and that is a damn shame. That's why we're not a great country. Every time Republicans vote, am I better off than I was? How selfish do you have to be only to care about yourself? But that's what we are as Americans. We're very, very, very selfish. I cannot tell you how many people I talked to when I went to Europe. He goes, you guys are so selfish. How do you let 40,000 people die from gun violence and not do a damn thing? Because it doesn't affect me. I have bills to pay. You're not taking my gun. Well, I'm sorry that your child is identified by dental records because they were murdered in a school shooting. But hey, Freedom, freedom, freedom. That's the cost of doing business. That's what's really wrong with this country, is that we're selfish. If we wanted to, we can come together right now and stop this. Stop paying federal taxes. Stop funding this fascist government. But there's not enough people that are angry enough yet. So the only way that's going to happen then is when you suffer the effects of your silence. Silence is guilt. Evil succeeds when white people do nothing. And that's exactly what's happening right now. Then do that. But I want you to remember this. There's going to be a time where you think that you're just going to live off your breadcrumbs and your privilege is going to keep you safe. That's what you have the right to do, whatever you want. But there's going to be a time where those breadcrumbs are gone, when you lose your farms, when you lose your house, when you lose your jobs, when you lose your ability to buy fertilizer, when you can't sell your goods. And you're going to come asking other people for help. And you know what they're going to tell you? The same thing that you're telling people right now that need our help. Sorry, it doesn't affect me. I have to do what's best for my family. The same shit that my friend said to me. I'm not going to help a stranger. Then don't expect a stranger to come help you with their tax dollars or their personal income when you weren't willing to help somebody else when they needed your help. And if we're not willing to do that, then let it burn to the ground. Because the only way people are going to start caring is when it negatively affects their lives. When your selfishness comes back and bites you in the ass. Maybe that's what America needs. Maybe it is. And there ain't a damn thing I can say to convince you. Y'all said, what can we do? I've given you a solution. But all you care about is, no, I don't want to be uncomfortable. Then that's fine. But don't act like you're innocent. Because you're watching it happen. The Democrats aren't going to win this in the midterms. Trump's going to start a war and push off the elections, or he's going to say it's rigged, or he's going to put armed guards, or he's going to gerrymander the places, or he's going to go to Supreme Court and lawsuit after lawsuit until he's maybe out of office in 4 years. He's going to spend $1 billion. He's going to build this bomb room, and he's going to lock himself in there just like Hitler did. He's not going to leave. And the economy is going to go right down the toilet, and we're going to be in another Great Depression, if not worse. But hey, I'd hate for you to sacrifice your comfort for a stranger. That would be a damn shame. I'd hate for you to give a shit about somebody else. Faith without works is dead. You can say you care all you want, but doing it, that's what matters. And for people, just to be clear, well, Paul, you live blah, blah. I grew up with a stepdad that worked 3 jobs. Our vacations were sleeping in our Suburban and in tents because we couldn't even afford a hotel room. I walked 5.2 miles to work for 3 years because I couldn't afford a bike. My first table when I got married was a cardboard box with a white sheet. That was fan dining while I sat on the floor. So don't give me that shit that, Paul, you don't know. I know exactly what I'm asking for. I'm asking for people to start caring about somebody else. Because in 10 years, when we look back and we have those little bronze plates on the ground like Nazi Germany, remember that you were complicit in it because you didn't do a damn thing to stop it. Even on Saturday, the No Kings protest, a whole 8 million people out of 340, that's it. Great job, white people. Way to fight. That doesn't even cost you anything. It's because you don't give a shit. You would rather go to a football game or go for a walk or see a movie. You're not even willing to do something on a Saturday outside of working hours to stand up. The hell is wrong with y'all? What is wrong with you? How selfish is that? You don't think that I've lost friends and family over me doing this and clients? I don't care. Because I've learned from history. I'm not a selfish prick. We will not remember the words of our enemies, rather the silence of our friends. And right now, there's too many people that look like me that are sitting silent in your privilege. And that is the definition of privilege. I'll put the petition for the general strike, but I don't think that Americans are wanting to be uncomfortable. I think we would rather bitch and moan about it and hope that it magically fixes itself, and it ain't. You think it's bad now? We're still in the first quarter of this. We're not even close to halftime yet. It's about to get real ugly. So we can choose to do something and be uncomfortable for somebody that we don't know, because that's what patriotism is. That's what being a decent person is giving a shit about people that we don't know. Unlike my friend who I'm no longer friends with. Because if our answer is, I don't care because she's a stranger, that's an effed up attitude to have. It just is. It's selfishness. And it's exactly why the Holocaust happened, because too many people stood by and says, I don't care. I don't want to sacrifice my ability to sell cheese and eggs on my farm. 2025strike.com. I'll put it in the pinned comment. That's fine. But you know what I expect? Maybe 20 people to sign up. I started doing this because I wanted to stop what's happening, not for clicks and views. I want people to do something and be angry and pissed off, and you're not. Ho-hum, going to ice cream. Ho-hum, seeing a movie. Ho-hum, going to a baseball game. What if your kid was in a concentration camp? Huh? What if your daughter was in Iran and was bombed by Donald Trump? What if your Officer Siddiq was your dad? Would you give a shit then? Yeah. Sorry, doesn't affect me. I got to pay my bills. And that's the problem. I act as if they were my friends or family because I give a shit. That's the difference. When you're willing to be out of your comfort zone, you let me know. Otherwise, have yourself a white day. I'd hate for you to sacrifice for a stranger.